you're cheating on me, Lucas!
Hi, my name is Beatrice. I was only a young girl when I met Lucas. I was shy, quiet, and still learning about life. But when I saw him, something inside my heart lit up. He was tall, gentle, and his smile had a way of making me forget the world. Lucas was my first love. I gave him all my trust, all my heart, and even my innocence. I believed in his promises. He told me, Beatrice, I will always be here for you. I will make you happy. I held on to those words. Even when I saw things I did not understand, even when I caught his eyes drifting towards other women, I told myself, love will fix it. Love can heal him. When I was just 19, I became his wife. Everyone said I was lucky, and I believed it too. Our wedding was simple, yet full of laughter and joy. I remember holding his hands tightly that day, whispering to myself, this is forever. In the first months of our marriage, my world was beautiful. I would wake up early, cook his favorite meals, and wait for him to come home before I touched my plate. Sometimes, I stayed hungry for hours, but I did not care. To me, love was about patience. Love was about sacrifice. I thought we were a perfect family. We even had a little daughter, Miracle. Her smile became the light of our home. And whenever Lucas carried her in his arms, I would smile and whisper, yes, I made the right choice. But deep inside my heart, there was a voice I tried to silence. A voice that kept saying, Beatrice, something is not right. At night, when Lucas turned his back on me and slept with his phone close to his chest, I would stare at the ceiling and feel tears burn my eyes. I did not want to believe he was hiding secrets from me. I told myself over and over, he loves me. He will change. But promises can sometimes break like glass. And the love I thought was forever slowly began to turn into something else. Something I never expected. At age 19, most girls were still chasing their dreams, still learning who they were. But I chose love. I chose Lucas. I thought marriage was like a fairy tale. I thought once you held someone's hand at the altar, forever was sealed. I believed no storm could ever touch us because love was our shield. At first, everything felt like a dream. I would wake up early every morning, sweep the house until it shone, and cook Lucas's favorite meals. I wanted him to come home and feel peace. I wanted him to look at me and say, Beatrice, you are the best gift I ever had. Whenever he left for work, I would stand by the window, waving until he disappeared down the street. My heart would whisper, that is my husband. That is my whole world. I cared for our little daughter, Miracle, with all the love inside me. She was the light in our home. Her smile could melt away any pain. When she laughed, I felt like the happiest woman alive. I would sit with her in my arms, waiting for Lucas to return. And when evening came, no matter how hungry I was, I never touched my food until he arrived. Sometimes my stomach would cry, but my heart always answered, wait for him. Love is patient. The neighbors often said, Beatrice, you are a good wife. Their words filled me with pride. I thought to myself, yes, I am doing everything right. This is how love should be. Our nights were quiet. I would lay close to him, listening to his breathing, believing we were safe in each other's arms. And when I closed my eyes, I would dream of a long future together. Two old souls still walking side by side. But life has a way of surprising you. Love can be sweet like honey, but sometimes it can also sting like fire. Back then, I didn't know. I was young, innocent, and too full of trust. I thought forever meant joy. I thought promises could never break. I didn't know that one day, the same love that made me smile would also be the reason for my deepest tears.
At first, our home was filled with laughter, but slowly, shadows began to creep into our joy. Lucas was not the same man I married. He started getting upset over little things. If the food was too salty, his face grew dark. If Miracle cried too long, he frowned and walked away. And sometimes, when I asked him simple questions, he answered me with a heavy voice that made my heart tremble. I would sit on the edge of our bed, wondering, what did I do wrong? Did I make him angry? Did I fail as a wife? Lucas no longer looked at me the way he used to. His eyes seemed far away, like his mind was in another world. Even when I smiled at him, he only gave me a quick nod and turned to his phone. The night became colder. He no longer touches me. Instead, he lay on his side, facing away, his phone glowing in his palm until late at night. I missed him, even though he was right beside me. Still, I kept holding on. I kept telling myself, this is just a season. Marriage is not always easy. Love can heal anything. But sometimes, when I stood by the window watching him leave for work, I felt a strange ache in my chest. He no longer kissed my forehead like he used to. He no longer turned back to wave. He just walked away, like my presence was no longer important. I tried to ignore it, but the silence in our home grew louder every day. The laughter faded, replaced by long evenings of waiting, wondering, and worrying. I wanted to believe in love. I wanted to believe in forever. But deep inside, something whispered to me, Beatrice, something is not right. The walls of your marriage are beginning to break.
Slowly, things began to get worse. Lucas would place his phone on the table like always, but now he kept it inside his pocket, even when he was at home. I didn't think much of it, but soon he changed the password. Before, I could use his phone to play music or check the time. Now, whenever I reached for it, his eyes grew sharp and he quickly stretched out his hand. "Don't touch it," he would say, holding it close like it was more important than anything else. I told myself, maybe he just wants privacy. Maybe it is nothing. But in my heart, fear started to grow. He began taking the phone with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. Sometimes, he would stay inside for more than an hour, the water not running, no sound at all, just silence, and then a soft laugh behind the door. I would sit outside, holding Miracle in my arms, wondering who he was talking to. My ears tried to catch the whispers, but all I could hear was the beating of my own heart. At night, he would lie beside me, the glow of the screen lighting up his face. His fingers moved quickly, typing and scrolling, while I stared at the ceiling, pretending to sleep. Sometimes I caught the reflection of his smile on the window glass, a smile he no longer gave me. That's not even all. The calls were the worst. Whenever his phone rang, he would step outside, his voice low, his words too soft for me to hear. If it rang while he was inside the house, he would silence it quickly and slip it back into his pocket. I wanted to ask, "Lucas, who is calling you?" But the words froze on my lips. I was afraid of the answer, afraid that once it came out, I would no longer have the strength to live in denial. Every day, my chest grew heavier. I looked at Miracle's innocent face and whispered, "Everything will be fine." But my hands trembled and my heart told me the truth. Something was happening behind that locked screen. Something I could not see. Something I could not touch. But something that was slowly pulling my husband away from me. And I had no proof. Only fear.
The first time I heard her name, it sounded so small, so harmless. Blessing. Lucas mentioned it once while we were eating, saying she was a new colleague at the office. I smiled and nodded. I thought nothing of it. After all, work was work, and colleagues were normal. But I didn't know that name would soon live in my mind, haunting me every night. Lucas began coming home late. At first, it was 1 hour, then 2. Then sometimes I would sit with Miracle in my arms, waiting until the night grew heavy before I heard his key at the door. When I asked why, he simply said, "Work kept me late." His voice was calm, but his eyes did not meet mine. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hold on to the man I married. So I forced a smile and whispered, "I understand." But my heart was not at peace. Some nights, when he entered the house, a soft scent followed him. A perfume I did not own. A smell that did not belong to me. It clung to his shirt, his hair, even his skin. And when I leaned closer, hoping for the comfort of my husband's warmth, that strange scent pushed me away. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe someone in the office hugged him in greeting. Maybe he brushed past someone in the crowd. I wanted to believe those little lies, because believing the truth would break me. But the signs kept growing. And sometimes, when I tried to hug him, he gently moved away, saying he was tired. One evening, as I served his food, I looked into his eyes and whispered, "Lucas, are you okay?" He nodded, quickly, forcing a smile, and said again, "Work kept me late." But my spirit was restless. I knew work was not the reason. I knew something else was pulling him away from me. And though I tried to bury the thought, the name kept returning to my mind. Blessing. The stranger from work who had already found her way into my quiet nights. I will never forget that evening. I wasn't searching. I wasn't even thinking about it. It came to me like a sharp knife in the dark. Lucas had gone to shower. His phone was on the table. Suddenly, it lit up. My eyes, without meaning to, looked at the screen. One message. Just one. It was from Blessing. The words were simple but heavy. "I miss you already." My whole body went cold. My hands began to shake. For a moment, I wished my eyes were lying. But the truth stood right there, burning into my chest. I placed the phone back exactly where it was. I felt weak, like the ground under me was gone. My heart pounded so loudly, I thought it would burst. When Lucas came out, humming and smiling like nothing was wrong, I could not hold it in. Tears had already filled my eyes. My lips trembled as I whispered, "Lucas, please stop this. Don't throw away what we have. Please." He looked at me, not with surprise, not with shame, but with coldness. His face hardened. His voice dropped, sharp and heavy. "Mind your business, Beatrice," he said. That was all. No comfort, no care. Those words broke me more than the message itself. I sat on the edge of the bed, hugging myself, while tears poured down my face. My heart cracked into pieces right there. I thought of the day he held my hand at the altar, the vows, the promises, the laughter we once shared. How did it all disappear so fast? I begged in my heart for this to be a bad dream, but the silence in the room
told me it was real. That night, I did not sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to his quiet breathing beside me. Every second felt like a hammer striking my chest. I knew then my world was no longer safe. And this was only the beginning of the storm.
The morning after that long, sleepless night, I tried to speak again. My heart was heavy, but I still believed maybe if I begged, maybe if I showed him my pain, he would remember the love we once had. I followed him to the sitting room where he was scrolling on his phone. My voice shook as I said, "Lucas, please, we can fix this. Let's talk. I don't want to lose you." He looked at me for a long time. His eyes, once soft, now felt like stone. Then he leaned forward, his words cutting through me like sharp glass. "If you dare tell anyone about this," he said slowly, "I will walk away, and that will be the end of this marriage." My breath caught. I froze. For a second, the room spun around me. It wasn't just what he said. It was the way he said it, bold and firm, like he had already made his choice. Tears filled my eyes, but I swallowed them down. I wanted to shout, to scream, to beg, but my voice refused to come out. I just stood there, silent, while my heart sank deeper and deeper. I thought of my daughter, Miracle. Her innocent smile, her small hands holding mine. If Lucas left, what would become of her? What would people say? How would I explain? Fear tied me down like a heavy chain. Love held me still like a rope I could not cut. I was trapped in the middle, unable to move, unable to breathe freely. That whole day, I walked around the house like a shadow. I cooked, I cleaned, I smiled at Miracle, but inside I was breaking. I wanted to run to my mother's house, to cry on her shoulder, to tell her everything. But the fear of losing him kept my lips sealed. That night, I lay beside him in bed, staring at the darkness. His breathing was steady. Mine was shaky. I turned my face to the wall so he would not see the tears rolling down. I felt caged in my own home. My heart screamed for freedom, but my love and my fear forced me to stay quiet. And in that silence, I knew I was no longer just a wife. I was a prisoner of my own love. One faithful morning, I decided I could not carry the burden alone anymore. I packed a small bag for my daughter, Miracle, dressed her neatly, and went to my parents' house. When my mother saw me, she smiled warmly. "Beatrice, you look tired. Are you okay?" I wanted to break down right there, but I swallowed my tears. I waited until we were alone before I whispered the truth. My voice shook. My hands trembled. I told her about the late nights, the phone calls, the change in Lucas. I told her how cold he had become. She listened quietly. Then she sighed deeply and placed her hand on mine. "My daughter," she said softly, "marriage is not easy. Men sometimes lose their way, but you must endure. You must fight for your home. Don't let small storms break your family. Stay strong." Her words pierced my chest. Endure? Was I supposed to carry this pain forever? Was silence the only answer? Later that week, I met with two of my close friends. We sat in a quiet corner, Miracle asleep in her stroller beside me. I spoke again, hoping for comfort. But their answers shocked me.
One leaned close and whispered, "Why are you crying, Beatrice? If he can cheat, you can cheat too. Fight fire with fire." The other laughed a little and said, "Yes, my dear, don't suffer alone. Show him you also have options. That way he will respect you." I sat there frozen, my hands cold. Their words echoed in my mind, but they felt wrong. Deep inside, I knew I could never do that. I was not built to give pain for pain. But then again, was I wrong for holding on? As I walked home with Miracle, the voices played in my head like two drums beating at the same time. My mother's voice, soft. Endure. Fight for your marriage. My friend's voice, fight fire with fire. And me, caught in the middle, torn between two roads, neither of which felt safe. That night, as I lay Miracle to sleep, I stared at her peaceful face. My heart asked a question that had no easy answer. Was I supposed to keep suffering in silence? Or was I supposed to change into someone I was not? I hugged her close, my tears falling quietly, because I knew, whichever path I chose, my life would never remain the same.
At first, I told myself I would never follow my friend's advice. My heart could not carry such a thought. I believed in love, and I believed in Lucas. I kept telling myself that maybe tomorrow he would change. Maybe tomorrow he would come back to me the way he used to be. So I waited. I prayed. I kept our home warm, cooked his favorite meals, and smiled at Miracle even when my heart was breaking. But instead of things getting better, they grew worse. Lucas no longer rushed home after work. He stayed out late, sometimes returning when the night was already fading into morning. And when he came in, he barely noticed Miracle stretching out her tiny hands for him. He barely looked at me. Day after day, the silence between us grew louder. My nights felt longer. My days felt colder. Loneliness began to eat me from the inside, like a shadow that never left. Then, one evening, something happened. As I walked to the market with my basket in hand, I heard someone call my name. I turned and there he was, an old friend from my school days. He looked more handsome than before, but his smile was the same. He said, "Beatrice, is this really you?" For a moment, I forgot my sadness. We stood there talking, remembering old times. He asked about my life, my marriage, and my little Miracle. His voice was kind, his eyes soft, and I felt a small comfort that I had not felt in years. When I walked back home, my heart was confused. Why did that short meeting make me feel lighter? Why did I smile for the first time in a long time? That night, as I lay on the bed waiting for Lucas, who never came home, my mind kept replaying the moment, the laughter, the warmth, the way my name sounded in the voice of someone who truly cared. I shook my head and told myself, "No, Beatrice, do not fall into this trap. You must hold on." But deep down, I knew something had been opened inside me, a door I never planned to touch. And once a door opens, it is very hard to close it again.
I never planned for it to happen. I fought with my heart. I argued with myself. I prayed to God to keep me strong. But the more Lucas pulled away, the more the emptiness inside me grew. And then slowly, my old school friend kept appearing. Sometimes by chance. Sometimes he reached out to ask how I was doing. At first it was harmless. We only spoke about the past, about school days, about life. But one day, he looked at me with gentle eyes and said, "Beatrice, you don't deserve to be this lonely." Those words broke something inside me.
For years, I had waited for Lucas to say those exact words. But he never did. And now, hearing them from someone else felt like water on a dry land. Slowly, I finally gave in to the temptation. Not because I wanted to betray my marriage, but because I was tired of being invisible. For the first time in a long time, I felt noticed. I felt alive. But the moment it happened, guilt wrapped around me like a chain. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I looked at Miracle's innocent face and wondered if I had just destroyed everything. I told myself, Beatrice, this is wrong. Stop now. You are not this kind of woman. But another voice whispered back. And what about Lucas? Has he not been walking the same road for years? It was a battle inside me. Love against pain. Faith against weakness. And yet, there was something more. My old friend carried a heavy secret of his own, one he did not hide from me. A truth that made my heart pound faster whenever I remembered it. I knew if Lucas ever discovered my mistake, it would not just be anger, it would be war. Because now, my secret was just as dangerous as his. That night, I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, my hands shaking. I realized something chilling. Lucas was not the only one who could destroy this marriage. I was now carrying a fire in my hands. And if I was not careful, it would burn us all. 3 months later, Lucas was not himself anymore. He looked tired all the time. His steps slower, his smile fading. At first, I thought it was stress from work. But even when he rested, his strength did not return. Then it happened to me too. My body grew weaker, my head heavy, my nights restless. I could not understand what was happening. I tried to stay strong for Miracle, but even holding her in my arms became a struggle. One morning, Lucas woke up sweating, his shirt soaked, as if he had run a long race. His face was pale. I touched his forehead, and fear gripped me. Lucas, I whispered, something is wrong. We cannot hide from this. We must go to the hospital. For the first time in a long time, he did not argue. He only nodded. We went together, both of us sitting in the waiting room, silent, our eyes fixed on the ground. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. The doctor ran some tests. We waited. The minutes felt like hours. And then the results came. The paper shook in my hands as I read it. My knees trembled. The words stared back at me, burning into my soul. HIV positive. Not just me, Lucas too. I froze. My lips could not form words. My mind screamed. How? When? Who? Lucas grabbed the paper from me, his face drained of all color. His eyes widened, his mouth opened, but no sound came out. We both sat there, trapped in silence, the air heavy with questions. Neither of us could answer them. Had it come from him, or had it come from me? The weight of that thought crushed me. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I looked at Lucas, and for the first time, he looked at me with fear in his eyes. The same fear I carried inside. We walked out of the hospital together, but it felt like we were walking into a storm that neither of us knew how to escape. At that moment, I realized something terrifying. This was no longer about secrets or betrayal. This was about life itself, and the truth of who brought this shadow into our home might never be known. At night, I cried quietly, holding Miracle close, while Lucas sat on the edge of the bed, silent, staring into the dark.
Our home was no longer a home. It was like two strangers living under one roof. Every time I looked at him, questions filled my chest. Every time he looked at me, I saw the same questions in his eyes. We did not talk about it. We only carried the silence like a heavy load. One morning, the weight became too much for me. I ran outside, my eyes wet, my mind spinning. The world around me was a blur. I ran without seeing, my heart beating so fast I could hardly breathe. Then it happened. The accident that almost took my life. All I remember is the blast of a car horn, the screech of tires, a sharp pain shooting through me, and then nothing but darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. My body felt heavy, my head weak. I tried to sit up, but I couldn't. Then I looked down, and my whole world stopped. One of my legs, it was gone, leaving me with just only one leg.
The white ceiling above me looked blurry, like clouds in the sky. My body felt heavy, my chest rising and falling with effort. I could hear the faint beeping of the machines around me. And then I saw Lucas. He was crying. For the very first time, I saw him breaking down. He sat beside me. "Beatrice, please forgive me," he whispered, his voice weak, almost trembling. "Don't leave me, not like this." My heart twisted. Even with all the pain and betrayal that burned deep inside me, I still felt something for him. But the weight of everything we had done sat heavy on my chest. My breath came shorter. The room felt colder. I wanted to speak, to ask him why, to ask if any of it was worth it. But my voice wouldn't come out. Our lives had fallen apart. Our dreams, our joy, our bond, all scattered like ashes in the wind. First, it was the virus, HIV. Now, I had lost one of my legs to the accident because I couldn't focus or concentrate. I broke into tears and started weeping. God, my life is over. We were no longer husband and wife, no longer a family. We were two broken souls sitting in the ruins of what used to be love. The nurse rushed in, checking the wires around me. Lucas stepped back, his face full of fear, his eyes locked on me as if I was slipping away. I closed my eyes, and in that darkness, one question echoed louder than the machines, louder than his crying, louder than the beating of my own heart. Was this the price of love or the price of betrayal?